Hello and welcome to the second Vodcast from the Newcastle Shakespeare Society Australia. Today we looked at the play Henry VIII, and the discussion was so heated that we quite forgot about setting the microphone up for the Vodcast, which is why you're only getting me this time around. To start, can I just apologise for misremembering the estimated number of people executed under Henry VIII's reign. I had said about 18,000. He did reign for 37 years and he was hard at the chopper for pretty much all of that time. But I was grossly wrong. Current estimates stand at between 57,000 and 72,000 people over that time. That's between 30 to 37 people a week, non-stop for 37 years. By comparison, his daughter Mary earned herself the title of Bloody by executing just 300 over her 6-year reign. That's fewer than one a week. Absolutely paltry. A quick Google on this count produces links like top 10 heads that rolled during the reign of Henry VIII and regarding Henry and his body count. And yes, there are a few executions and deaths during the course of the play. Henry VIII is possibly the last play that Shakespeare had a hand in. It's a collaborative effort with John Fletcher, the playwright who succeeded him as the dramatist for The King's Men. We tend to think of Shakespeare as an Elizabethan playwright, but in fact his career exactly straddles Elizabeth and James, 13 years of each, give or take. Henry comes right at the end of the James portion, and boy does it feel more Jacobean than Elizabethan. Some of the imagery and thinking struck me as more from the 18th century than the start of the 17th. I got obsessed with the spider imagery, but perhaps that's something to do with coming to live in Australia. Everyone brought in questions and points that had struck them, and it was startling how much we were all thinking the same thing, which was, what is being said? What is this play really about? Now, I don't mean we didn't understand it at all. We were flummoxed at the length and extent of the forgiveness speeches. Almost everyone in the play spends most of their time being angry until they're sentenced to die, and then they spend the rest of the time forgiving everyone and being magnanimous. Particularly in the case of Catherine of Aragon, who's been effectively chewing people's eyeballs out and spitting out the core if they give her a hard time. Some people thought it was a political exhortation to James to be more like his predecessor Elizabeth, whose birth the whole play leads up to and ends with. Some thought the theme of the play was England itself. The eponymous Henry hardly gets a look in, and when he does, it's more in the guise of a mild-tempered innocent, occasionally vexed at how manners aren't quite as they should be. Some thought the detached angle accentuates the flow of history, perhaps paying homage to the Reformation as a keystone in the development of the country. And some thought the insistence on deathbed reconciliation and heartfelt repentance might have something to do with an aging playwright handing over power to his successor and perhaps knowing he didn't have much longer. With Henry VIII written in 1613, Shakespeare dies just 3 years later. We didn't come to any conclusions, but it was noticeable that the play had affected us in very similar ways. We were all very glad it had been picked out of the hat as a choice, but we're also glad we hadn't had it as a theme play at school. It seems a difficult one to answer questions on. Our next meeting is on Antony and Cleopatra, same place, December the 2nd, 2 p.m. Having everyone come in with a few points and questions led to some truly satisfying discussion, so please do come in with your thoughts, ready to sling at the opposition, or just share in a kindly spirit if you're feeling like Shakespeare's Henry VIII. We promise there will be no beheadings. We'll also firm up the date and venue for the Christmas party very shortly. Friday the 7th December evening for a meal somewhere has been suggested. Back to you soon on that one, and hope to see you there. And don't forget, we did say fancy dress. We'll be back again next month, same time, same place. In the meantime, thanks very much for listening. I'm Vesna signing off for the Newcastle Shakespeare Society Australia.